Tonight on Golf Central, all eyes are on the Ryder Cup. We're on the eve of Darren Clarke filling out his European team, who's in, who's out, plus the U.S. is looking to end a long drought.
You know, I want sweet revenge just like our whole team does. There's nothing like playing for your country and representing the United States.
Again, I can't say it enough. It's their team, you know? If they go in there believing in what we're telling them, that they have the best team and that they're ready to go, then they're going to play well.
Coming up, Davis Love or Darren Clarke. We're going to debate which captain has the more difficult task when it comes to completing their Ryder Cup rosters.
And hello, world. We're 20 years to the day of Tiger Woods' pro debut. We'll look back at Tiger's biggest accomplishments and look forward to life after rehab. It's all ahead right now on Golf Central.
Golf Central. Brought to you by Titleist.
Patrick Reed is up to a career-best 9th in the official world golf rankings after his one-shot victory yesterday at the Barclays. It's his 5th career win on the PGA Tour and first since January of 2015. Entering the Barclays, Reed was firmly on the Ryder Cup bubble, holding down the 8th spot after his win. Reed moved up to 4th in the United States Ryder Cup standings in the last week to automatically qualify. In addition to Reed, here are the 8 players who will represent the United States at Hazeltine next month. U.S. Open champion Dustin Johnson, 2-time major champion Jordan Spieth, Phil Mickelson in his 11th Ryder Cup appearance, PGA champion Jimmy Walker, Brooks Koepka, the only rookie to qualify, and Brandt Snedeker and Zach Johnson. Welcome to Golf Central. I'm Matt Adams. Davis Love III is in the midst of a media blitz in New York City after the confirmation of those first 8 players to automatically qualify for the U.S. Ryder Cup team. He took the time to speak to our Gary Williams after his press conference this morning.
Our top 8, our top 12 has really just shuffled amongst themselves over the last 3 or 4 weeks. But, you know, obviously Ricky make a couple pars coming in, he would have knocked Zach out, but it really wouldn't have been that drastic a change. It's just hard to make a move. You know, we've seen Jim Furyk have some great tournaments, not really move up a lot. Ryan Moore play great, not move up a lot, because everybody else around him is moving up in points. So not really big surprises, but I know there was a lot of pressure on those guys. Obviously, Patrick was the big story, sitting down there at 8 and moving up to 4, solidifying his position, playing well, getting another win. But, you know, so many of the guys, 1 through, 30 on our list of American players are really, really playing well.
You know, it's interesting that you mentioned the number 30. Because these deadlines are different from the last time you did this in 2012, do you find yourself paying attention to twice as many players, 3 times as many players? What's the difference?
Oh, you know, way down the list, because you got to realize, I mean, when Bubba came back from the Olympics, he was worried about not playing the next week. And I said, don't worry about it. I've got a pick Sunday night after the Tour Championship. Everybody's still in it. You know, right down the list, anybody that's in the top 100 that made it to Deutsche Bank can win the FedEx Cup. You know, they win 3 in a row, and they're the hottest player in the game, and they've just won $10 million. So you want to take that guy to the Ryder Cup. So I think everybody's on the radar for a couple weeks. You know, our assistant captains have been saying, hey, we got at least 6 rounds of golf to watch before we worry about it too much. But obviously, we're playing the game. What are we going to do with Ricky? What are we going to do with Ryan Moore? What are we going to do with Sean O'Hare? You know, what about this guy? What about that guy? So everybody's still in the mix. I would just tell everybody that's not in the top 8 to go play and try to win the FedEx. That's the best thing you can do for yourself, for your game, and don't worry about Ryder Cup points. I know I panicked and tried to make Ryder Cup points, tried to impress the captain, and it didn't do me any good. I always played worse. So, I say, Ricky, go play, have fun, try to win the FedEx, and Ryder Cup will take care of itself. With Jim, we were obviously pulling for him to make the cut and Stricker so they could play on to the next tournament. You know, obviously it's going to be a big week for both of them to move on to the next round, not only for Ryder Cup, but for FedEx Cup. We got a lot of guys on our list, and Jim Furyk's one of them. So it's going to be fun to watch the next 2 weeks.
here are some of the players on the outside looking in who will now have to rely on a captain's pick from Davis Love III to make the United States team. He will announce 3 of his 4 captain's picks following the BMW Championship on September 12th. Then his final selection will follow the Tour Championship on the 25th. Love says it will be a team decision. Let's welcome in PGA Tour winner Brian Bateman and our insider Tim Rosafort. Gents, Captain Davis Love III says Ricky Fowler is, quoting, trending up and going into tournaments that suit him. He's starting to make putts he has confidence in his game, end quote. That from Captain Davis Love III. Brian, what do you think about Ricky's chances of making this team as a captain's pick?
I talked to Davis last night briefly on the phone, and it was funny because he said he's really looking forward for these next few weeks to happen. He said it's going to be fun for him. I can't imagine how much fun this is going to be because there's so many players that are close. But I do think Ricky Fowler will play his way onto the team. He may not make it automatically, but remember last year at Deutsche Bank, he is your defending champ. So he's going in this year, winning last year, finished 4th in the BMW, and then 12th in the Tour Championship. So he trends in the right direction. He played his tail off last week to finish 7th with a lot on the line.
He's on the team. I don't think you can go up to Minneapolis without him not being there. And not because he's popular in the team room, but because he's Ricky Fowler and the potential's there. I'm very surprised at the turn he took this year, the pivot, if we're going to use a word from listening to all his political talk lately, the pivot into not being able to close golf tournaments after he shut down the Players' Championship last year, after he backed it up with the Scottish Open, after he had so much energy and played so well through the playoffs, after he put ice on the win at Abu Dhabi earlier this year over in the desert, and then to look up in the gallery at Phoenix with 3 holes to go, see his family, and then not be able to close that golf tournament, and then to continue on throughout the rest of the summer and to do what he did down the stretch just a couple of days, just yesterday, is not the Ricky Fowler that I saw at the end of this season. It's a turn into not being able to close out golf tournaments, but I think the Ryder Cup's going to flip things around for him. He's going to come back and play the type of golf that I saw out of Ricky in '95 and in his first tournament in '96.
In the sound we just heard from Davis Love III, he specifically mentioned Ricky Fowler. He specifically mentioned Jim Furyk, who's ranked 15th in the United States Ryder Cup standings right now. Do you think that he is another one that's likely to get a pick at 15?
I say yes. I think Davis has been a big fan of Furyk's play just because he didn't start the season until May. And he said numerous times if he'd have started playing in January that he would probably be on the team anyway automatically with points. I mean, Jim Furyk's played some really good golf the past few weeks. I think the Mr. 58 thing, I don't know how much weight that carries Ryder Cup-wise, but veteran leader, you can talk about his Ryder Cup record, but over the last 10 or 15 years, there's not a player on the American team that had numerous appearances on the Ryder Cup that had a above 500 record to start with. So I don't think past record matters. I do think Jim Furyk will be on the team. Veteran leadership, and he's easy to pair with for other players.
Rosie?
Davis has told me that Jim is close to playing himself out of the decision-making process that a vice captain has about making captain's picks, that he's, quote-unquote, screwing up the top 12. Tiger told him back in the text, that's good. We want players messing up the top 12. There are a couple of knocks against Furyk. You put his name out there on Twitter, and everybody just assaults him because he represents not only him, but Tiger and Mickelson, all losing records throughout that streak. They want to see younger players. The only knock on Furyk as a guy who's 46 is whether he can play 5 matches or not, whether he can go the distance, and also the bigness of the golf course that we're going to that the players are going to up at Hazeltine, and whether Jim with his length would be a good fit for that golf course. But for many people behind Davis and for Davis himself, it's hard to see him playing his way out of the position that he's in right now. Didn't do great, T41, didn't really sell himself last week. Let's see what he can do the rest of the playoffs, though.
It will be a big day tomorrow for Team Europe. Here are the 9 automatic qualifiers for Captain Darren Clarke right now. Rory McIlroy, who's making his 4th appearance in the Ryder Cup. Danny Willett, of course, the Masters champion. Henrik Stenson, who won the Open Championship. Chris Wood, the BMW PGA champion. How about this? Sergio Garcia is making his 8th Ryder Cup appearance, which matches his hero, Seve Ballesteros. Rafael Cabrera-Bello, a rookie on the squad. Justin Rose, of course, the Olympic gold medalist. And 2 more rookies, Andy Sullivan and Matthew Fitzpatrick. Darren Clarke announces his 3 captains' picks tomorrow. It will air live on Morning Drive. Clarke has some tough decisions to make. It seems he has more viable candidates than spaces available. Brian, with 5 rookies already on the team, can you make a case for some experienced players?
Oh, I think absolutely. Between Lee Westwood and Martin Keimer, they've been a part of some successful teams on the Ryder Cup, and that's valuable information that they can pass along to some of these rookies. So I wouldn't have any problem with him taking some, with his 3 picks, taking 2 veterans and maybe sprinkling in a rookie depending on who he wants to go with. But I think Westwood and Keimer are safe picks for Darren Clarke just because of the success they've had in past Ryder Cups.
You just heard Brian say, Rosie, maybe sprinkle in some rookies. What about the play of Thomas Pieters of late? What about the consistent play of Russell Knox?
Well, I agree that it's going to be Westwood and Keimer, so thus one of the 2 rookies is going to get that phone call that he's not going to want to take, or that quite honestly will probably give Darren a couple more white hairs between tonight and tomorrow morning when he has to make the official call. But going back to a quote Paul Casey had just recently, rookies aren't scared anymore. Rookies aren't what they used to be. That certainly applies to Knox and what he's done with 2 Ws, one including a WGC event, 2 other second-place finishes in the U.S. this year. And then, of course, Pieters. It's not a surprising performance if you knew his background, the NCAA championship when the kid from Belgium came over and won it for Illinois, the individual title, and then what he's done as a pro. This is his 3rd win already. Pete Cowan has told me, and talked to Pete again on the phone today, that this kid doesn't get stage fright, and he certainly didn't. Birdie in the last 3 holes to win that golf tournament, knowing there's an opportunity to make a Ryder Cup pick. And but he's taken sort of an attitude of, look, I did what I could do. If I don't make the team, I'm going to make plenty of teams going forward. But it's hard. If you look at the modern prototype player, Pieters on a bigger golf course fits it better than Knox. But how can you ignore Knox at the same time based on what he's done this year? A lot of politics involved in this as it relates to Knox. They're too complicated to get into right now as it relates to the European Tour. But let's face it, they want players who support the European Tour on their Ryder Cup team.
There will be a lot of emotions involved as well. As I mentioned, you can watch Darren Clarke make his Ryder Cup captain's picks tomorrow live on Golf Channel. Morning Drive brings you complete coverage starting at 7 a.m. Eastern Time. Still ahead, Rosie opens up his notebook with new details on how Patrick Reed secured his first win in 55 starts. Also, Arya Jutanagarn continues her dominance on the LPGA. We have the keys to her hot streak. Plus, ready to feel old? 20 years ago today, Tiger Woods made his professional debut. We'll look back. You're watching Golf Central.
Golf Central is brought to you by Titleist, the #1 ball at the Barclays. Titleist, the #1 ball in golf. Golf Now, millions of tee times, free GPS, and more. Download today.